morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Friday, April 8th, 2016. If you want to follow us on Twitter, please go to CATEX TV. Well, last week a federal judge ruled that Metropolitan Life, now known as MetLife, did not qualify as systemically important as a financial institution. The ruling was sealed, however. MetLife cautiously rejoiced. Others, such as AIG, began to plan to appeal their own designations. Not so fast. The ruling was unsealed last night, and apparently the federal judge had very grave concerns about the status of Metropolitan Life, and but for arbitrary and capricious treatment by the federal government insofar as the Stability Oversight Council process goes, she would have easily ruled them to be eligible for the systemically important status. The U.S. Treasury has announced that it's going to appeal the ruling immediately. The judge, a woman named Rosemary Collier, said that she disregarded MetLife's assertion that it wasn't eligible for SiFi status, stating that its arguments had no merit. She ultimately ruled in favor of the insurer on the grounds that the Stability Oversight Commission's final determination had been arbitrary and capricious. She went on to say that every possible effect of MetLife's insolvency was summarily deemed grave enough to damage the economy. This is very bad news for insurers such as AIG, which had been cautiously looking to the MetLife ruling as a possible pathway for them to not be considered systemically important. You can be sure that they're reading the judge's opinion very closely. Swiss Re has said that reinsurance pricing will continue to fall this year, especially for cat coverage, as competition for customers from hedge funds, as well as other sources of alternative capital, continue to dampen premiums. Edward Schmidt, the head of property and specialty at Swiss Re, said price reductions have slowed, but there's still pressure. However, many years without large losses and an oversupply of traditional and alternative capital has made it more difficult for us to change the prices we used to see for this protection. Hedge funds and alternative capital have now pumped in about $72 billion in capitalization. However, lower than normal claims, said Schmidt, are also drawing competitors. Global insured losses from catastrophes and man-made disasters in 2015 dropped to $37 billion, compared with an average of about $62 billion. So the lower claim numbers are actually attracting investors who think that their investments are safer, although the correlated response to that is it's also lowering the return because the premiums keep dropping. One person who would agree with Mr. Schmidt would be Evan Greenberg, who is the CEO and chairman of Chubb. He said in his annual letter to Chubb shareholders that many insurers and reinsurers are simply gambling on the current benign loss environment to make money. He said that the market headwinds are likely to prevail now for a number of years to come. He said the pressures are just beginning to show through in the operating results of many companies. He said many market participants are simply gambling that if they don't have a normal level of expected cats or large losses, they will make money. It's a pretty dumb plan, he said. Add to that the impact of low interest rates on investment income, and there's simply no place for many insurers to hide when it comes to earnings power. Meanwhile, in Russia, air accident investigators said this morning that the FlyDubai flight that crashed on March 19th at the Rostov-on-Don airport entered a steep dive following crew action. This is the first formal indication that pilot error could have led to the crash, which killed 62 people on board. It was a Boeing 737-800. The authorities are saying that the crew attempted a first landing in very bad weather conditions, extraordinarily heavy winds, with the autopilot turned off. The landing was called off because of wind shear. The crew then circled the airport waiting for weather conditions to change before attempting another landing. They tried a second landing. It was also flown with the autopilot turned off. When the plane reached about 220 meters or 700 some feet, the crew again called off the landing, initiated a climb, and applied takeoff power to the engines. But when it reached 900 meters, the crew pushed the nose of the plane down sharply, causing the plane to descend rapidly. The crew was unable to recover, and the plane hit the ground at a speed of more than 600 kilometers per hour. Investigators had previously said that there was no fault with the airplane, which was functioning fine, and there was also no fault with the airport equipment used to measure weather conditions. investigation is ongoing. Back in February, there was a pretty substantial earthquake, about a 6.9 in Taiwan. Taiwan is a country prone to earthquakes. Building standards are quite high there. However, a number of people were killed, over 100, when a 17-story apartment complex in Tainan collapsed. Well, yesterday, prosecutors in Taiwan charged 5 people with professional negligence for their role in constructing that 17-story office building. They said that the people had taken shortcuts to save money. They had altered beam column joints and column sections in the building. Construction shortfalls reduced the building's lateral earthquake resistance by 16%. The developer, the head of his design department, 2 architects, and an engineering technician were arrested. That's the news for today. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you Monday.